Hi friends, it's Deanna Williston from Our Blooming Catholic Life, and I'm here today with a review on a duo of books. It's the original book, The Book Woman of Troublesome Creek, as well as The Book Woman's Daughter. These books were recommended to me by my sister-in-law's mother-in-law, as you do. Sometimes you get talking at different family events and holidays, and you may recommend or pass books back and forth. If you haven't done that, consider it. Take a book that you like along and see if you can share it with someone. It's not like a gift you purchased, but something that you're passing on. And then you can share that moment. You can discuss it at the next family gathering. So it's a nice way to share, as well as why I was so interested in these books. She got into it at a book club at the library just down the street from where she lives. But for me, it's this little blue swatch that they're talking about. These are historical fictions, roughly. So, I guess this way, sorry. What are they? They take two moments in time. They take, I don't know why it's so hard for me to say. Let's see if I can get it. The Kentucky Pack Horse Library Project, which is literally a person on horseback carrying books to people up in the mountains and very remote areas that either didn't have a library or couldn't get down to it. So that started as a part of the New Deal, but it was picked up by other people and supported along the way because it was a great program. And then there's a separate issue that also happened in Kentucky, and that was the Blue people. I happen to know a family that is descended from the Blue people of Kentucky, and so that's where my interest was. Now, the back of both of these books is going to have some true history. So if you're not familiar with these events, you may or may not choose, but because you're watching this review first, you're going to know that the history of those things are in the back of the book. And one of the things you're going to find out is these two things may not have intersected as they do in the book. She wanted to talk about the Blue people of Kentucky, and she wanted to talk about the Pack Horse Library Project. And so she made one person who was blue and did the Pack Horse Project. And then in the sequel, obviously, her daughter takes up the project. So what are the Blue people? I'm not really going to go in it. It happened to be a genetic disorder. It was recessive. And, back in the backwoods, limited intermingling of peoples. And so this recessive genetic disorder came out. It was really interesting because, it was a freak accident that it happened. The first family that had Blue people, one side of the family, the mom's family, came from Kentucky and had been there for a while. But the dad was actually like an orphan from France and came over. And so that's how it started. So that gene must have already been running into Kentucky. So what is not addressed in these books was a lot of the prejudice of the Blue people came from people suspecting that it came from intermarriages. We'll just say that. From a family intermarrying. And that was the concern, was that. And so there was prejudice because you have a different skin color. And, if you intermarry within your own family, there are genetic disorders that come out. And this is one that came out. It really doesn't seem to have impacted their health, but it made them a different color. Again, it was a genetic disorder, not a health condition. People with a health condition that's very severe can also turn this color blue. But they find out that it's actually a genetic condition. How they found out is kind of documented in this book, but not exactly. Again, if you read the history, you're going to find out it happened at a later time. And how we don't know a lot about these people is the person who, quote, found them and did the medical testing never released their exact location. Hollywood, all that came looking, all the news agencies, but the person had scruples and did not release where these people came from. We just know they came from Kentucky. And as well, I will not release my friend's name or any of that. That's hinky. But it was really interesting because she always said that. I'm from the Blue people of Kentucky. And now I know a smidge more about what that was. And so some of the prejudice they encountered was from people thinking, yeah, you're backwoods, incestuous, that kind of thing. And some of it was you're a different skin color. And then some of it, of course, was because they were a woman in a certain time period. And it does go into that a lot. There's occasionally a very graphic scene of abuse or disrespect. It's never incredibly detailed. And there's some light romance in here, but it's not the main thread of the book by any means. They talk about also other things in that area of Kentucky, coal mining. They talk about the fire towers. They talk about just life in the small town, the company store. So there's a lot of that interwoven with this one particular family line. Very interesting. So besides the history in the back of the book, I'm going to tell you this is recommended as a book club book because she actually does have, besides the photos that go along with the history in the back, she has the real history. There's also reading group guides in the back of each of these books. There's acknowledgments as normal. A very small section about the author. It says she is a New York Times, Los Angeles Times, and USA Today best-selling author. Kim Michelle Richardson has written 5 works of historical fiction and a best-selling memoir. Kim Michelle was born and raised in Kentucky and lives there with her family and beloved dogs. She is also the founder of Shy Rabbit, a writer's residency and scholarship. To learn more, please visit Kim Michelle on her Facebook page or on her website at KimMichelleRichardson, all one word, .com. Let's get into the beginning of the book. Oop, I had Bookwoman's daughter in front of me. Let's start with the Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek. You can see it. I did get a deal on it at Barnes & Noble. I no longer recommend going to that particular bookstore. The amount of occult books and really weird stuff going on in there has become predominant, I would say. It's very weird. Very weird. There are still some Christian sections and things, but the predominant thing, it's just hard to get away from it. It's kind of interwoven into every group. It's a little bit much for me. The public library service in Kentucky starts out with a map. So if you're not familiar with Kentucky, how it's laid out, this is great to have in the beginning. It is by Source Books Landmark 2019. Starts out with a quote by T.S. Eliot. The very existence of libraries affords the best evidence that we may yet have hope for the future of man. And it starts right out, Kentucky, 1936. Let's see. And then there's chapter 1. Oh, so the Kentucky 1936, this very much confused me when I first read the book. So it is just one page front and back. And then we start with chapter 1. So this is actually something from the end of the book, which is going to seem it's an event that's very confusing and jarring to you. And then we jump back in time to like the beginning of this story. Ta-da! I've let you know that, so you're not going to be as confused as I was. There's no table of contents or anything. You just jump straight into the book. And straight through, there's no pictures, there's nothing. The chapters are fairly short. I feel like they're shorter in this book than they were in this book, which is handy to know if you're a person who says, oh, just let me finish the chapter. In this book, they're like 3, 4, maybe 5 pages. They're not normally that long. They're all marked like this, so they're pretty easy to see when they start. But you're going to need a bookmark because this book does not have a table of contents. You just go straight through. And the chapter titles give nothing away because they're just numbered. So where does the next one start? There's a lot of reviews and recommendations in the beginning. And then, ta-da, title page. And then, ta-da, another title page. I don't know. They really wanted you to know where it was. And then the copyright information is on the back. This is a 2022 book, so it's super recent. I found this at a different bookstore. I did not go back to Barnes & Noble. This one has a quote, oddly, from Napoleon Bonaparte. Show me a family of readers, and I will show you the people who move the world. Here it starts out in Kentucky. So this is a smaller introductory thing, but it's still just like the first one had that one page front and back. This is calling out just a little refresher. Well, this is a 1 paragraph refresher of this book. What? Yes, I'm not kidding. 1 paragraph refresher. And then you start out. Chapter 1 is in Thousand Sticks, Kentucky in 1953. You're jumping into the story. And pretty much same thing. Again, I feel like the chapters were just a smidge longer in this book. Let's look at chapter 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 6 sides of a page. So 3 pages. Again, not super big. So I apologize. I thought they were really longer than that. Maybe there's just a couple that are a little bit longer, or maybe they're all just cliffhangers and I couldn't stop. Maybe I kept saying, oh, the end of this chapter, and then it was a long chapter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so chapter 28 is a lot longer. So there are some that are longer. When I say a lot longer, let's see here. 1, 2. I just counted it and already forgot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's on 11 sides of a page. So basically 6 pages. They're still short for the books that I normally read, but they're longer in this one than they were in this one. What happens in this book, the daughter is from the first book is 16, and for whatever reason, she ends up living alone. And living alone in the 1950s and early 60s in Kentucky. I believe that's when this happens, Kentucky 1953. So living in 1953 Kentucky as like a 16 or 17-year-old woman, what can you do as that? Can you live on your own? Can you get married? Can you hold a job? These are themes that she explores. What does it look like being a woman and holding a job in that day and time and place? And it's shocking. It's not a great place, but there are some advantages and disadvantages, and you're going to explore that theme throughout this book. So it takes a slightly different angle. There's still the prejudice against her skin color. Her parents still appear in the book, not as much. And so you're dealing with different issues as well, issues that happened to poor people in that day and time in our legal system. And so that makes it very interesting. So if you're interested in studying just the struggles that women have had historically in America, throughout the 30s and 40s and 50s, these books may be for you, as well as if you've never heard of the Blue People. It's something that's very unique to America. I don't know that we've ever found that disorder in the records anywhere else, but perhaps it happened at other times and places. So interesting to learn about a people you may not have heard about before. So I'm going to recommend these with reservation if you're very sensitive. There are some slightly graphic, violent incidents. I won't lie. There are some in here. There are some horrible tragedies in here. And there are many joys. So take it with some reservation. If you're super sensitive, these books may not be for you, but give them a chance. God bless you, friends.